Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about the one thing that is likely in the way of you experiencing all that you desire. And this is a really common mistake, and it's something that we have to really persist in allowing ourselves to release the old concept, what we believe to be true, to allow ourselves to adopt this one new truth. And it might be something that you know logically, but still are struggling with being a doer of this knowledge. So, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to explain it from all sorts of directions. And at the end, toward the end of the video, I'm going to give you tips and practices that you can actually use in your 3D reality to help you with this understanding and to help you begin to strengthen this muscle that is so necessary for creating the reality that you desire. Before I get into all that, however, I want to announce that I am doing a workshop for a specific person. Now, I wanted to create this to reach those of you that don't do consistent coaching with either myself or anybody else, or don't do coaching at all. So, if you are consistently coaching with me, I suggest, although you're free to do whatever you wish, but I suggest you don't attend this workshop. You're already getting everything that I'm discussing in this workshop. Now, that being said, I also talk about all of this in my videos, but this is going to be a condensed 2.5 hour workshop where we talk about all things related to a specific person. I mean, coming at it from all the angles of all the possible circumstances, whether there's a past with you, a negative past, with third party, you've never met them, they're famous, it doesn't matter. We're going to go through all of it. And everybody that buys a seat to this will be able to immediately email me and ask me their question that they would like addressed during the workshop. And the workshop will be held through a YouTube Live that's only accessible to those who buy a seat through a link, and it will be there forever. So you also don't need to be available for the live workshop if you can't swing it with your schedule. You can submit your question ahead of time, which I suggest you do. Everyone should do anyway. That way I can come at it with everything and make sure I'm approaching this from everyone's perspectives. I will also be reserving some time at the end for Q&A, and I'm sure there will be plenty of questions in the comments, and that's where I'll pull from. So, all right, thanks for your patience and letting me go on about that. So, during our manifestation process, it's a lot where we come to learn about manifestation because we want something. We want something to change in our experience. We want to experience a relationship. We want to experience more abundance. We want to experience better health, whatever it is, more success. We want our 3D reality to change. And so we learn about manifestation. We start dabbling, we get curious, we start applying techniques and practicing it. But the truth that is so often overlooked or not contemplated enough is that nothing exists outside of awareness. And that little truth is really the foundation of all of this. That's why your imagination is so powerful. That's why your attention is so powerful. And just to give you sort of a 3D understanding or a way to look at this and go, oh, yeah, it is really important and valuable. And I'm not saying like we're in this experience because of our assumptions and beliefs, right? Whatever your experience is, my experience, the worldly experience, I'm in it because of my assumptions and beliefs. That being said, have you ever wondered why, in this 3D reality, in terms of economics, your attention is such a valuable commodity? Just contemplate that. Your attention is the single most valuable commodity. Your attention is what is the backbone of all economical growth, stagnation, existence. It's attention, right? This is how priceless attention is. And so when we understand that all of this came from in here first, we suddenly want to now start nurturing in here. We want to encourage this beautiful imagination to reach and expand itself beyond what we've seen as true. We want to then also start using our attention and disciplining it to support what we've seen in this beautiful imagination. And so these are the two aspects of it that are very important. It's not just imagination. It's all of awareness. So your imagination and what you're putting your attention on, these two things together make you literally unstoppable, literally limitless, because you already are free. You have just been creating these illusions of bondage because your imagination and your attention are being squandered on the limiting beliefs that you hold of yourself. So I want to explain something. Like, okay, you come into this reality from this state of existence, and let's say this state of existence is wobbly at best. This state of existence is the state of, I am a victim, this is happening to me, I'm responding, I'm reacting, right? You come into this reality, and that's what you begin or end up being molded to believe. So now, again, it's not, there's no victims. This is what you've done. This is where consciousness is residing within you. You come into this reality, and from that state, you start creating a shadow. You start creating this experience that perfectly shadows that state. And then, because you don't know that that shadow was created from your awareness, you then start to validate that state because you're looking at the shadow and allowing the shadow to mean it's true. You're allowing the shadow to validate, to determine. You're allowing the shadow to be fact and truth. And then you perpetuate that cycle over and over for years and decades and maybe more. And you continue to strengthen this idea that your reality is happening to you, that it's your job to react and push against it and respond to it and try to make it change and discipline yourself and work hard and go, go, go. And that whole mentality is the exact opposite of understanding and knowing that all of this exists within. There's nothing you have to go get. There is nothing that's waiting around the corner for you. There is nothing that you can, through, good deeds or hard enough work, be rewarded with. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have, is they think that their desire exists outside of themselves. They think that they're waiting to create it. They think that they're waiting for it to appear. They think that they will be rewarded with it when they've disciplined themselves enough and done a certain amount of these techniques, or, tried hard enough to get it. And while discipline is a very important aspect of it, it's never about disciplining yourself to achieve a quota with affirmations or to achieve, some type of like marker or checking off a box of, I did this and this and this and this, now where is it? The discipline is you're learning to discipline your awareness. You're learning to discipline what you're putting your attention on. Because if you continue to put your attention on what you've already manifested, you're going to continue to experience the same shit over and over and over again. So this idea that reality exists outside of you, while it feels very real and has been embedded in you, I want you to understand that the reason reality feels real is because it's a shadow of assumptions that you believe are real. Like, that's why there's that feeling of validity and that feeling of assuredness or certainty with things that appear out here. Because the only reason they're appearing out here is because within here, you assume it to be real. You assume whatever appears that it's real and that it's truth. So it shows up. And when it shows up, it feels real and you think it's real. Yeah, because you already did think it was real. And so when we're not consciously aware of what we're being aware of, we will continue to squander our power. And this is where discipline is so important. And I want to say that again, like you're learning to become consciously aware of what you're being aware of. Whereas in the past, you were consistently being consciously aware of what was in the reflection, of what was appearing in the shadow. So instead of being consciously aware of the source of creation, you have lived lives, well, yeah, maybe, but also you have lived years or decades worth of being consciously aware of the shadow. And so that keeps us in that reactionary mode, in that reactionary place, right? And we're also subconsciously validating the idea or the belief that we're powerless and the shadow is real, which is wild because the shadow only exists because we created it. We gave it permission to be there. We assumed, and then thus, poof, there it is, right? So this is what I want you to contemplate and meditate on and script for yourself or affirm for yourself. Find words that resonate with you, but really start understanding nothing exists outside of you. And I know you've probably heard it 1,000 times or more. You've read it, you've heard people talk about it. But for you to understand it and to accept it as truth, it's that. It's not even understanding, it's accepting it as truth. That's when everything's going to change for you. That's when everything's going to change. Because until you accept it as truth, you are continuing to imagine something or do a technique that brings you into the state of the wish fulfilled. And then you step out of that into your 3D reality and you're looking for the something. Well, when you're looking for the something, what state are you being? You're being in the state of waiting. And when you're in the state of waiting, what shadow are you creating? Or what reflection are you creating? Well, you're creating the shadow and the reflection of also waiting and of not having. Right? So this is why it's so important to shift what you're valuing and to shift what you're making real for you. And it's that it might be a decision you have to make over and over again, but it's that acceptance of truth that only imagination is real. I am free to feel however I want to feel in any now moment. That's all free will is. That's where free will is quantified or where it is rooted at or what the source of free will is. It's your ability to choose your feeling, to choose your state, to choose your thoughts, to choose your assumptions, to choose your beliefs, which really are just choosing how you feel in a moment. You have that free will, and from there, the shadow will reveal, will reflect, will show up, right? The shadow, the reflection, it will give you what you've already been within and what you've consistently managed to maintain being. So that's the part of attention. Learning to direct your attention from within and no longer allowing the exterior to pull your attention and to determine what you put attention on and to then, determine how you're feeling and what other thoughts you're having and what other beliefs you're encouraging and so on and so forth. So I suggest you rewatch this video a few times to really let all this sink in and contemplate this notion that we've had it all backwards. We've been cherishing the wrong thing. We've been putting importance in the wrong thing. The shadow will always be there. It's not the source. You're the source. Imagination and attention. That's all you need to know. Now, I'll do another video where I go into techniques, but all the techniques are tools for you to start to control and choose what you're imagining and what you're putting your attention on. That's it. They are tools to get you into your preferred state. which will then reveal or produce your preferred shadow, your preferred reflection. But for God's sakes, we have to stop looking at the shadow and thinking it's real, and thinking it's important, and thinking it's powerful, and thinking that it's truth, right? That's it. The shadow came from within. Nothing exists outside of you, not a thing. It only has been able to appear because you've given it permission to be your experience through your thoughts, assumptions, beliefs. That's it. Okay, so now that I've said all of that, which I've said so many times before, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's invaluable information. And I'll keep exploring other ways of saying it like I've been doing for years. Tips, practices. There are a couple of things that I'm going to talk about that I think are incredibly important. And the first is meditation, or being still, being silent, shutting off the five senses. However you want to word it, whatever you want to explain it, it doesn't matter. But doing this, disciplining yourself to do this every single day, even if it's only for a matter of a few minutes at first, is going to strengthen your ability to not be so involved in 3D and to not think 3D is so important, and to further encourage you to create from within your ideal state, your ideal feelings, right? Because again, and I can't stress this enough, in every now moment, you exist with complete freedom to choose how you're feeling. And you always have that choice. It never eludes you. It's never out of reach. And in fact, it's within. And that's where you do it. And that's how you do it. So you have in every moment the opportunity to choose. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. Now, meditation or some type of stillness, shutting out the five senses, quieting the mind, allowing yourself to go into sats, allowing yourself to visualize, imagination, even if you're using a technique and you're scripting, all of that is well and good. It does not matter what you're doing, but you're giving yourself time to stop this outer world, to stop engaging with it, to stop feeling feelings as a result of it, and you're going within to the source of creation. Now, I, over the decades, have definitely meditated, years and years ago, and would do meditation classes and read books on meditation and practice meditations and do group meditations in the ashram and all those things. I've done them all. And then somewhere in my adult life, I guess in my mid to late 20s, early 30s, I stopped. And I would dabble every once in a while. I would go, oh, I should meditate. I should try that again. And it really wasn't until just a couple of years ago that I started practicing it more diligently or consistently within my own life. And it helped my mindset tenfold. Like being consistent and persisting in the practice of shutting my mind to the five senses and allowing myself to go within and choose feelings of abundance and choose feelings of joy and choose feelings of freedom. That helped me drastically in terms of how I was showing up, how I was reacting to 3D. I'm not going to get into my personal story, but some of you have heard it before. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of anxiety, a lot of frustration, and no more, right? Because I disciplined myself to put in a practice that basically subconsciously reinforced that everything comes from within. And that's really what you're doing when you're meditating. You're being still, you're being quiet, you're shutting your door to the five senses. You are being and thus expressing that what goes on in here is far more important than what's been happening out there. And that's a great message to continue to reinforce. And doing the act of meditation is a great way to subconsciously reinforce it, because you're actually choosing. You're choosing to shut off the world, and you're choosing to put your attention and your value in what you're feeling from the inside. And that sends a very clear message to the subconscious mind that this is power, this is important, this matters. So it's going to help shift a lot of things in your life. Now, the other aspect of this is in terms of like 3D things that are going on. And something that a lot of people don't understand, and I kind of touched on this, not really, but I think in the beginning of the video, maybe I didn't say it. I think I did, where I said, like, why do you think in this paradigm, in this reality, in this world, your attention is the most valuable commodity? Because if somebody is squandering their attention externally, the external world controls it, right? It controls that person. Like when we don't know that fulfillment comes from within, we are then seeking outside of ourselves. And what do seekers do? Well, they buy up everything, right? They try it all. They do it all. They try it all. They do it all. They're consuming, whether it's information or, shoes or handbags or whatever. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying things, and I'm not, doing a take on consumerism. Like, I'm all for shit. I like nice stuff. I like to be comfortable. I love spending money on things that I love, and that's well and good. But when I was doing it to fill a hole, I ended up with a bunch of shit that I didn't need or like or love. And I just kept going and going and going and going. And nothing was shifting, right? I thought, oh, if I get this, it'll make me feel better. If I have these clothes, I'll be this person. Not understanding that no, being that person comes from within. And when you be that person from within, those clothes show up. Like, it's so much easier. But this is my point, is that in your everyday, like your sorry, I got distracted in my mind. In your day-to-day 3D reality, be aware of how often you're seeking externally for something, right? Like picking up your cell phone and scrolling through social media, watching YouTube videos. Thank you though. Shopping online for things you don't really need. Even like listening to music and watching television and watching movies, and just how many times a day you're checking your phone to see if somebody has messaged you or if there's something for you to be notified of, to do and to look at. And I want you to like think about this as how it's pulling your attention from within, and it's putting your attention on the shadow, on the external world. And now, if from within you're not coming from a place of abundance and confidence and security, you're going to perceive a shadow that feels empty and that feels like it doesn't have. And then what's going to happen? You're perceiving that shadow that came from a state of lack, and then you're validating that state of lack because there's nothing there, or what's there isn't really what you wanted. It's just a notification from that shopping app or whatever. Like, right? Like, so really, it's in your best interest to start eliminating time spent on these things. And time is attention. That's all it is. Time is state of consciousness being manifested, being experienced, right? So if in your state of consciousness, or if in your day you're spending, let's say, 6 or 8 hours seeking through your 3D reality, what state are you being for those 6 to 8 hours? You're being in a state of not having, you're being in a state of waiting, you're being in a state of lack, and you're further reinforcing that things come from out here. And so it's not in your best interest to do this. Like, put down the phone, stop checking. And every time you have the urge to check or to go, consume something or mindlessly scroll, stop and use that time to be in the state that you would prefer. Use that time to imagine fulfillment. Use that time to imagine being loved and chosen and adored, to imagine being healthy, wealthy, confident, secure, beautiful, radiant, handsome, hot, whatever. You have to start controlling your attention from within. You can't keep squandering it externally. You can't keep allowing what's out here to pull your attention and to direct it for you, because what's out here came from what's in here already. That's how you don't change. That's the only way. Because other than that, you're changing and you can change drastically. But it's this loop you keep holding yourself in by existing in a state of lack and then checking the 3D to see if it's still true. And 3D is just a shadow of your state of lack. So it's going to say, yeah, boo, it's true. You still got nothing, right? But you have to break that cycle. Use your time wisely, which again, it's just attention. It's a state of consciousness. It's what you're being aware of. Use it wisely. It is your most valuable commodity. So start putting your attention on what you would prefer. And I know, like, it's, you're gonna, but I don't see it out here. And I was there too. And I was really frustrated that it wasn't out there. And I remember throwing tantrums in my mind and maybe out loud too to myself of, how am I supposed to feel chosen if he's not choosing me? Like, how am I supposed to feel abundant if the money's not there? And being so mad about it. But I had to let that go. Because that's saying I am not free to choose how I want to feel. And that's a bunch of bullshit. In fact, that's the only way we're free. That's the only place where freedom exists, is in making the choice to feel how you want to feel. So there you all go. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope that it helped you. I intend that it shifts so much for you, and maybe not today, and maybe today, if not over the next few days, very clearly, you deserve to exercise the free will to choose how you're feeling and to choose what you're putting your attention on, and you direct it from within. Stop letting out here. Stop letting the shadow pull your attention. Stop. You're better than that. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you next video.